Jelena Janković is a Serbian professional tennis player. Janković is a former world number one in singles, a ranking achieved in the months following her finals appearance at the 2008 US Open. Jankovic's career highlights include winning the 2007 Wimbledon Mixed Doubles title with Jamie Murray, the 2010 BNP Paribas Open, the Internazionali BNL d'Italia twice, in 2007 and 2008, and the aforementioned appearance in the finals of the 2008 US Open. She is coached by her brother Marko. As of June 25, 2014, Janković is ranked number 8. Family and early life. Janković was born in Belgrade, Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, as the third child of Veselin and Sneh Ana, both economists. She has two brothers, Marko and Stefan. She is a student at the Megačan University in Belgrade, studying economics. However, she has put her course of study on indefinite hold as she continues to pursue her tennis career. Janković learned her first tennis skills at the tennis club Red Star. As a 9.5-year-old she was introduced to tennis by her elder brother and fitness coach Marko. She was later trained at the tennis academy of Nick Bollettieri. As a junior she won the 2001 Australian Open and reached junior number 1 in the world. In 2001, she started to play on the WTA Tour. She reached a second round at her first tournament at the Indian Wells Masters. Tennis career. She was ranked world number 1 for 17 consecutive weeks until she was overtaken by Serena Williams on February 2, 2009. She was the year-end world number 1 in 2008, the second player in the history of the WTA Tour to do this without winning a Grand Slam title, after Kim Clijsters. Janković has reached the singles final of the US Open and the singles semi-finals of the Australian Open and the French Open. In 2007, she became the first Serbian player to win a Grand Slam title when she won the Wimbledon Mixed Doubles title with British partner Jamie Murray. 2004 Euro 2006, Rising. In October 2003, Janković entered the top 100 at number 90 for the first time, after winning her first ITF title in Dubai. 3 months later, Janković garnered her first top 10 win against Jelena Janković in the first round of the 2004 Australian Open. In May, Janković won her first WTA title, a TV event, in Budapest, defeating Martina Sucher in the final. Following her win in Budapest, she reached number 51 in the world. Elsewhere in her 2004 season, she defeated top 20 players Nadia Petrova, Vera Zvonareva, Patti Schneider, Jelena Janković and Payla Suarez. Janković finished 2004 ranked number 28 in the world. In March, at Dubai, she advanced to the final following Serena Williams' retirement in the semi-final. Janković then lost in the final to Lindsay Davenport in 3 sets. She made her first Tier I semi-final in Berlin, losing to Nadia Petrova. In June, she reached her first grass court final at Birmingham, but lost to Maria Sharapova. In October, Janković reached her third final of the year in Seoul, ranked number 17 in the world, her highest ranking at that time, losing to 16-year-old Nicole Vadiova in straight sets. Her ranking at the end of the season eclipsed her 2004 record at number 22. Janković lost in the second round of the Australian Open to world number 188 Olga Savedyuk. That was the first of 10 straight losses, not winning a match from late January into early May. She later said this run caused her to consider quitting tennis. Janković ended her losing streak by beating world number 17 Jelena Janković in the first round of the Internazionali BNL d'Italia in Rome, before eventually losing to Venus Williams in 3 sets in the quarter-finals. At the French Open, Janković reached the third round for the first time, where she lost to world number 1 Arma copyright Lie Morismo. At Wimbledon, Janković defeated 6th-seeded and defending champion Venus Williams in the third round in 3 sets. Competing in the 4th round of a Grand Slam event for the first time, she lost to 9th-seeded Anastasia Miskina. In August, Janković reached her 5th career final and first of the year at the JP Morgan Chase Open in Los Angeles, defeating Serena Williams in the semi-finals, before losing to third-seeded Jelena Janković in the final. The US Open saw Janković defeat world number 10 Vaidya in the third round, world number 7 and former champion Svetlana Kstsova in the fourth round, and world number 5 Dementieva in her first Grand Slam quarter-final. In the semi-finals, Janković lost to world number 2 Justine Henin in 3 sets, after Janković had led 6-4, 4-2. Janković argued with the chair umpire, when the umpire refused to offer an opinion as to whether a service call had been correct, suggesting that Janković use one of her electronic challenges. Janković then lost 10 consecutive games. Janković continued her strong form in the aftermath of the US Open. Of the 6 tournaments she played during the remainder of the year, she reached the quarter-finals at 5. This included a run to the semi-finals at the China Open in Beijing, defeating world number 7 Nadia Petrova in the quarter-finals, before losing to world number 1 Mauresmo in a third-set tiebreak. Janković finished the year at a career-high ranking of world number 12. 2007, top player. To begin the year, Janković won the second title of her career at the ASB Classic in Auckland, New Zealand, defeating Vera Zvonova in the final. The following week, at the Medibank International in Sydney, Janković defeated world number 7 and former number 1 Martina Hingis in top-seeded Alma copyright Lai Mauresmo on the way to the final, where she lost to Kim Clijsters after serving for the match. Janković's strong start to the year meant that some considered her a title threat at the Australian Open. However, she was eliminated in the fourth round by the eventual champion Serena Williams. Because of her results at these tournaments, her ranking rose to world number 10, the first time she had been included in the top 10. Janković reached 2 semi-finals in the Middle East in the spring, retiring against Mauresmo due to an ankle injury at the Dubai Tennis Championships, and losing in 3 sets to Justine Henin at the Qatar Total Open in Doha, Qatar. Janković rebounded in the clay court season, defeating Venus Williams on a third-set tiebreak in the semi-finals of the Family Circle Cup in Charleston, South Carolina. She went on to defeat Dinara Safina in the final to win the first Tier title of her career. On European red clay, after losing to world number 1 Henin in 3 sets both in the semi-finals of the J&S Cup in Warsaw and the quarter-finals of the Qatar Telecom German Open, Janković won her second career Tier title at the Internazionali BNL d'Italia in Rome, defeating second-seeded Svetlana Kstsova in the final. This result meant she entered the top 5 in the world rankings for the first time. Janković was the 4th seed at the French Open and one of the favourites for the title. After registering her 3rd consecutive victory over Venus Williams in the 3rd round, she went on to reach the semi-finals of a Grand Slam for the 2nd time in her career, but lost there to eventual champion Henin. This improved her ranking to a new career high of world no. 3. On grass, Janković captured the DFS Classic title in Birmingham, beating top-seeded Maria Sharapova in the final. Sharapova led 3-0 in the 3rd set, before Janković rallied to win the match. The next week, Janković reached the final of the Ordina Open in the Netherlands and became the first player since Chris Evert in 1974 to win 50 matches in the first half of a year. Janković, suffering from a hamstring injury, lost the final to Anna Shakhvtadze. At Wimbledon, Janković was the 3rd seed, but lost in the 4th round to the surprise eventual finalist Marion Bartoli. In the mixed doubles competition at Wimbledon, Janković teamed with doubles specialist Jamie Murray to win the title in 3 sets by beating the 5th-seeded team, Jonas Bja Rkman and Alicia Molik. During the North American summer hardcourt season, Janković reached the semi-finals of the East-West Bank Classic in Carson, California, but lost there to fellow Serb Ana Ivanović, having held 2 match points in the final set. The following week, Janković reached the final of the Tier Rogers Cup in Toronto, where she lost to Henin on Henin's 6th match point. Janković had leads in the first and second sets, but was unable to maintain her lead. At the US Open, Janković lost to Venus Williams in the quarter-finals. Jankovic's form tailed off following the US Open. At the Commonwealth Bank Tennis Classic in Bali, Janković was upset in the quarter-finals by former world number 1 Lindsay Davenport, in Davenport's first singles tournament since giving birth. The following week at the China Open in Beijing, Janković defeated Davenport, but lost in the final to Hungarian teenager Agnes Zave, after Janković had a match point in the second set. Janković finished the year on a 6-match losing streak, losing all 3 of her round-robin matches on her debut at the year-end WTA Tour Championships in Madrid. She finished the year ranked world number 3. At the end of the year she had won 72 matches in a solar year, a true record of the WTA. Janković had successful nose surgery immediately after Madrid to correct a breathing problem. The surgery prevented her from practicing for 3 weeks. Olympic Committee of Serbia declared her the Sportswoman of the Year. 2008, world number 1 and first Grand Slam final. Janković lost in the semi-finals of the Australian Open to eventual champion Maria Sharapova in straight sets, having defeated defending champion Serena Williams en route. In March at the TI Pacific Life Open in Indian Wells, California, Janković lost in the semi-finals to Ana Ivanović. The following fortnight, Janković reached her first final of the year at the Miami Masters, losing to Serena Williams in 3 sets. Janković started the clay court season by losing in the quarter-finals of both the Family Circle Cup in Charleston, South Carolina and the Qatar Telecom German Open in Berlin. Janković then successfully defended her TI Internazionali BNL d'Italia title in Rome, after defeating Venus Williams in 3 sets in the quarter-finals, receiving a walkover from the injured Sharapova in the semi-finals, and defeating French teenager Elisa Copyright Cornet in the final. This was Jankovic's first singles title of the year. She went into the French Open among the favourites, following the sudden retirement of 4-time champion Justine Henin. However, she lost to compatriot and eventual champion Ivanović after leading by a break in the 3rd set. Janković was the only player to win a set against Ivanović during the entire tournament. This marked Jankovic's 4th defeat in 4 career Grand Slam semi-finals. She would have become the world number 1 had she reached a final. However, she did reach a new career high of world number 2 in the week following the tournament. At Wimbledon, Janković injured her knee during her 3rd-round match against Caroline Wozniacki. Although she won that match, it visibly hindered her during her 4th-round loss to Tamarine Tanasugarn. Janković would have become the world number 1 had she reached the semi-finals of the tournament. However, she lost to Tamarine Tanasugarn in the 4th round. Janković squandered 2 further opportunities to immediately take the world number 1 position with losses in the semi-finals of the East-West Bank Classic in Los Angeles to Dinara Safina and the quarter-finals of the Rogers Cup in Montreal, to Dominika Cibulkova. Janković did eventually replace Ivanović as the world number 1 on August 11, 2008. She was the 18th woman to have been ranked world number 1 by the Women's Tennis Association, but the first woman to have done so without ever having reached a Grand Slam final and only the 3rd woman to have become world number 1 without first winning a Grand Slam title. Jankovic's reign as the world number 1 lasted only 1 week, after she lost in the quarter-finals of the Beijing Olympics to eventual silver medalist Safina. This meant Ivanović reclaimed the world number 1 position. Janković was the 2nd seed at the US Open, where she defeated Olympic gold medalist Elena Dementieva in the semi-finals to reach her first Grand Slam final. There, she lost to 4th-seeded Serena Williams. Janković would have reclaimed the world number 1 position if she had won the event. Janković became the world number 1 again during the fall in the midst of winning 3 consecutive tournaments. At the China Open, Janković defeated Svetlana Kstsova in 2 sets to win the title. The following week, Janković played in the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix in Stuttgart, Germany, where she defeated Venus Williams in the semi-finals and Nadia Petrova in the final. In the Kremlin Cup in Moscow, Janković defeated defending champion Dementieva in the semi-finals before triumphing against Vera Zvonova in the final for her 3rd title in 3 weeks, the first time for a player on the WTA Tour to do so since 2005. As the top seed at the year-end 2008 WTA Tour Championships held in Doha, Qatar, Janković won 2 of her 3 round-robin matches, including only the second win of her career over Ivanovic. However, she lost in the semi-finals, to eventual champion Venus Williams, and ended the year as world number 1. In all, Janković lost to eventual champions at 6 tournaments during the season. Janković was later named the ITF World Champion for her performance in 2008. She won 4 titles during the season, the most of anyone on the tour, along with Serena Williams and Safina. The Olympic Committee of Serbia declared her the best sportswoman for the second year in a row. 2009 Euro 2010, continued success as top 10 player, Janković was seeded first at the Australian Open in Melbourne. She lost to 16th-seeded Marion Bartoli in the 4th round. Bartoli hit 34 winners, compared to Janković's 17 and won 81% of her first serve points, compared to Janković's 56%. Janković lost her world number 1 ranking to Serena Williams as a result. Her next Women's Tennis Association event was the Open GDF Suez tournament in Paris. Janković beat Francesca Iavone, lɛna and 5th-seeded Eliza Copyright Cornet, but then lost to Arma Copyright Lai Mauresmo in the semi-finals. Janković was upset by Kaukampi in the 3rd round of Doha in straight sets, in what she called the worst match of my career. She was the 2nd-seeded player at the BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells, California, losing in the 2nd round to Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova. After the match, she conceded that she has been struggling with her confidence, saying, "I need a lot of work." Janković then lost in the 2nd round of the Sony Ericsson Open in Key Biscayne, Florida, to Gisela Dulko after Janković failed to hold leads of 5-2 in the 2nd set and 5-2 in the tiebreaker. Beginning her spring clay court season at the Andalusia Tennis Experience in Marbella, Spain, Janković defeated 5th-seeded Spaniard Carla Suárez Navarro in 3 sets for her first title of 2009. Janković beat Annabel Medina Garrigues in the Fed Cup playoffs against Spain to bring the Serbian team into the World Group for the first time. The previous day, Janković and Ana Ivanovic had won their single matches. Janković was the defending champion at the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix in Stuttgart and Internazionali BNL d'Italia in Rome, but lost in the quarter-finals. Seeded 4th at the inaugural Mutua Madrileña ± a Madrid Open, she advanced to the quarter-finals once again, but was defeated by Patti Schneider. Seeded 5th at the French Open, she lost to Sorana Car registered trademark RSTEA of Romania in the 4th round despite serving for the match in the 3rd set at 5-4. Janković was seeded 6th at Wimbledon. She lost to qualifier Melanie Oudin in the 3rd round. At the Western and Southern Financial Group Women's Open in Cincinnati, Janković defeated Victoria Azarenka and Elena Dementieva. In the final, Janković won her 2nd title of the year, defeating world number 1 Dinara Safina. With the win, her ranking also went back to world number 4. Despite her good form leading up to the 2009 US Open, Jankovic's inconsistency continued, as she suffered a shock 2nd-round defeat by Yaroslava Shvedova despite having match points in the 3rd set tiebreak. Her ranking went down to world number 8. At the 2009 Torrey Pan Pacific Open seeded 7th, Janković defeated Marion Bartoli in the quarter-finals and lɛna in the semi-finals. She faced Maria Sharapova in the final and retired while behind 5-2 because of an arm injury. Janković received a first round bye in Beijing. She lost her opening match to home favorite Peng Shuai. At the WTA Tour Championships, Janković lost her first match to Azarenka but bounced back, defeating Safina and Wozniacki to clinch the first berth in her group. In her second year-end championship semi-final, she lost to Venus Williams in 3 sets. She ended the year ranked number 8 and with a 46-19 record. At the Australian Open, Janković, seeded 8th, lost to 31st seed Ilona Bondarenko in the 3rd round. Next, Janković represented Serbia in the 2010 Fed Cup. In her first match, she rallied from 4-6, 1-4 down to defeat Elisa Klibanova, then defeated reigning French Open champion Svetlana Kostova. In the deciding doubles match, she partnered with Ana Ivanović but fell to Kostsova and Klebanova. Her next scheduled tournament was the 2010 Dubai Tennis Championships, where she lost to Vera Zvonareva in the third round. She traveled to Indian Wells, California for the 2010 BNP Paribas Open. At the tournament, she was seeded 6th and defeated Caroline Wozniacki to take her 12th title. Janković's next tournament was the 2010 Sony Ericsson Open, where she was seeded 7th. In the fourth round, she lost to Samantha Stosur, ending her 8-match winning streak. At the Fed Cup qualifying, Janković defeated Slovakia's Magdala Rybakova in her first singles match, but fell to Hantuchova in her second. Janković and Bojana Jovanovski then fell to Rybakova and Hantuchova in the deciding doubles match. Janković was the fourth seed at the 2010 Porsche Tennis Grand Prix. She lost against Justine Henin in the quarter-finals for the 10th time in a row. Janković was the seventh seed at the 2010 Internazionali BNL d'Italia. In the quarter-finals she handed Venus Williams the heaviest loss in her career, surrendering only one game. She then beat reigning world number 1 Serena Williams in the semi-finals, after saving a match point. She became one of the few women to defeat both Williams sisters in the same tournament and the first player who beat both sisters in less than 24 hours in one tournament. However, she lost to unseeded Mara Adjoza Martinez Nchez in the final. Nevertheless, her ranking increased to world number 4. Janković lost in the quarter-finals of the 2010 Mutua Madre Liga ± a Madrid Open to eventual champion Aravan Rezawa. Janković's next tournament was 2010 French Open, where she was seeded 4th. She lost in the semi-finals to Samantha Stosur. 2 weeks later, her ranking increased to world number 3. Janković, struggling with injuries, played in the 2010 Wimbledon Championships and eventually retired against eventual finalist Vera Zvonareva in the fourth round. Regardless, her ranking increased to world number 2. Janković lost in the early rounds at both the 2010 Western and Southern Financial Group Women's Open and 2010 Rogers Cup, despite being the top seed in each. Janković then traveled to New York to play in the 2010 US Open, where she was seeded 4th. She was defeated by Kao Kampi in the third round. In the 2010 China Open she fell in the third round against fellow Serbian player Bojana Jovanovski. Janković's final event of the year was the 2010 WTA Tour Championships, where she qualified for the fourth consecutive year, as the sixth seed. After losing her opening match to Zvonareva, Janković reportedly collapsed in the locker room, yet still came out to play Klijsters the next day and lost. She lost her third and final group match to Azarenka, bringing an end to her 2010 season. On November 30, Janković played a humanitarian match in Pioneer Hall. Revenue from tickets was intended to help elementary school in Kraljevo damaged by an earthquake. 2011 Euro 2012, out of the top 20, at the start of the year, Janković announced her decision to work with Andrei Pavel on a trial basis. She began 2011 by falling in the first round to France's Aravan Reza in 3 sets at the Medibank International Sydney. Her poor form continued at the Australian Open, losing in the second round against Xi Peng. Janković reached the semi-finals of the Dubai Tennis Championships, beating fourth seed Samantha Stosur but losing to Caroline Wozniacki in the semi-final, Wozniacki's first win in 5 attempts against Janković. Up next for Janković was the Qatar Ladies Open. She reached the semi-finals again, losing to Vera Zvonareva in 3 sets. The Russian had then beaten the Serb in their last 5 meetings. She then reached the final of the Monterrey Open, where she was defeated by Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova despite being up a set. Indian Wells Masters was next for Janković, where she was the defending champion. She was defeated by Ana Ivanović in the 4th round. Janković's next tournament was the Sony Ericsson Open, where she lost to Andrea Petkovic in the quarter-finals. Janković's next tournament was Family Circle Cup in Charleston, where she lost in the semi-finals to world number 1 Caroline Wozniacki. She then played in the Fed Cup against Slovakia, beating Daniela Hantuchova and winning an epic doubles match with Alexandra Krunia against Hantuchova and Magdala Copyright Naribirikova, saving 3 match points. With this, Serbia was placed in World Group I again. At 2011 Internazionali BNL d'Italia, Janković lost to world number 1 Caroline Wozniacki in the quarter-finals for the 3rd time in a row. Her ranking dropped to number 10, the lowest it had been since the beginning of 2007. Janković was the 10th seed at the 2011 French Open. In the 4th round, Janković fell to 5th seed and defending champion Francesca Iavone. As a result, she dropped out of top 10 for the first time since early 2007. Janković was the 15th seed at the 2011 Wimbledon Championships, but lost to Mara Adjoza Copyright Martinez Rnchez in the first round, her first opening round exit in a Grand Slam since the 2005 French Open. Janković was seeded 13th at the 2011 Western and Southern Open, where she lost in the final to Maria Sharapova in 3 sets. She reached the 3rd round at the US Open, losing to Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova. She reached the semi-finals of the 2011 Generali Ladies Linz tournament, falling to Petra Kvitova. Janković began 2012 at the Brisbane International, losing to Francesca Iavone in the quarter-finals. She then lost in the 2nd round of the APA International to 3rd seed Victoria Azarenka. At the 2012 Australian Open Janković was defeated by Caroline Wozniacki in the 4th round. She played the Dubai Duty-Free Open and advanced to the semi-finals without dropping a set, where she was beaten by the Informanska Radwarska. She reached the semis in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, before losing to 5th seed Petra Marshall in 3 sets. Janković lost her next 3 matches in Indian Wells, Miami, and in Charleston to Venus Williams. Janković reached the e-box Sony Ericsson Open in Copenhagen semi-finals before losing to 2nd seed Angelique Kerber. In the Fed Cup semi-finals against Russia in Moscow, Janković defeated Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova and Svetlana Kostova. She then lost 4 of her next 5 matches, being defeated in the opening rounds of the Mutua Madrid Open, the Internazionali BNL d'Italia and in Brussels before a 2nd-round loss at the French Open to young American Varvara Lepchenko. Janković turned her fortunes around by reaching the finals of Aegon Classic 2012, losing to Melanie Oudin. However, she lost in the opening round of Wimbledon to unseeded former world number 1 Kim Clijsters. It was the 2nd year in a row that Janković lost in the opening round of Wimbledon. Janković lost in the opening round of the Olympic tennis tournament to eventual gold medalist Serena Williams. Janković reached the final of Dallas and the 3rd round of the 2012 US Open, but was defeated by 2nd seed Anska Radwarska. 2013 Euro 2014, back to the top 10, 500th career win. At the Australian Open, Janković lost in the 3rd round to compatriot and former world number 1 Ana Ivanovic. In February, Janković won her first title in 3 years at Bogotá, defeating Paula Aumerikia in straight sets. Janković made an early exit from Indian Wells the following week, losing to Svetlana Kostova in the 2nd round. However, she managed to reach the semi-finals at Miami, losing to Maria Sharapova in straight sets. The run in Miami returned Janković to the world's top 20 for the first time in almost 1 year. Janković then reached the final of the Family Circle Cup, losing there to defending champion and world number 1 Serena Williams. At Stuttgart, Janković upset Samantha Stosur in the 1st round, before losing to Sabine Lisicki in the 2nd. Janković lost in the 1st round of Mutua Madrid Open to Chanel Schepers. She made it to the quarter-final at Internazionali BNL d'Italia where she was defeated by Simona Halep after she missed 2 match points. At the French Open Janković made it to the quarter-finals but lost to Sharapova in 3 sets. She also played at Na1 Quarter-Rumburger vs Sharon Scup where she was defeated by Andrea Petkovic in the semi-finals. At Wimbledon Championships she lost in the 2nd round of singles to Vesna Dolonc but made it to the quarter-final of doubles where they lost to eventual champions Xie Sui and Peng Shuai. Janković kicked off her U.S. hard-court season in Carlsbad, where she was upset in the second round by Urszula Radwanska in 3 sets. She also competed in the doubles tournament with Katarina Spotnik and lost in the semi-finals. This propelled her to a career high in doubles, number 38, 7 years after her last career high. She then competed at Toronto, and lost to eventual finalist Sorana Cîrstea in the third round. Janković again partnered Spotnik in the doubles. The unseeded pair won the tournament. This marks Janković's second career doubles title, her first title in Birmingham in 2006. This result will further increase her doubles ranking to a career high, number 25. At the Western and Southern Open, Janković defeated 4 top 25 players en route to the semi-finals: Sabine Lisicki, Ekaterina Makarova, Sloane Stephens, and Roberta Vinci. She then lost to world number 2 Victoria Azarenka in 3 tough sets. This result means that Janković clinches the 9th seed at the US Open, after the retirement of Marion Bartoli and withdrawal of Maria Sharapova. In the last major of the year, the US Open, Janković made it to the round of 16 for the first time since her run to the final in 2008 after beating Madison Keys, Elisa Klibanova, and Kurumi Nara, all in straight sets. She was defeated in the 4th round by a peak form Li Na. As a result, Janković was back into the top 10 singles rankings for the first time since June 2011. During the Asian hard-court season, Janković performed well. She reached the 1/16 round at the Toray Pan Pacific Open in Tokyo, where she was defeated by Eugenie Bouchard. At the 2013 China Open in Beijing, she reached a final for the first time since 2008, defeating Tokyo champion Petra Kvitova en route. Furthermore, for the first time since 2009, Janković won more than 40 matches in a year. After this result, she will be world number 8. This strong Asian run also meant that Janković is the 7th qualifier for the year-end championships at Istanbul. She made the semi-finals at the year-end championships, defeating world number 2 Victoria Azarenka in straight sets along the way, finishing 2013 with a 3-set loss to eventual champion and year-end number 1 Serena Williams. Janković started the 2014 season at the Premier Level event Brisbane International as the number 4 seed. She beat former Roland Garros champion Francesca Iavone, Elena Svitolina, and world number 9 Angelique Kerber to reach the semi-finals, where she lost to world number 2 Victoria Azarenka in 3 sets. This was the first time she made it to the semi-finals of an Australian Open warm-up tournament since 2007. Seeded 4th at the Sydney International, Janković was upset in the first round by Ekaterina Makarova in straight sets. Her next stop was the Australian Open. She defeated 3 Japanese players consecutively, Misaki Doi, Amy Morita, and Kurumi Nara, to reach the 4th round that set up a rematch against up-and-coming Romanian Simona Halep, where Janković lost in 3 sets. Her next set of tournaments were during the Middle Eastern hard-court swing at Doha and Dubai. She made it to the semi-finals in Doha, beating Karen Knapp, Elisa Klibanova, and Petra Kvitova, dropping less than 4 games in each match. She lost to Angelique Kerber in a second-set tiebreak. In Dubai, Jelena defeated Marina Zanevska and Lucy Safarova, both in straight sets, before falling to Serena Williams in the quarterfinals. Jelena played the 2 premier mandatory events during the North American hard-court swing at Indian Wells and Miami. At Indian Wells, she defeated Yvonne Meyerberger, Magdalena Rybarikova, and Caroline Wozniacki in straight sets to reach the quarter-finals against Anska Radwanska. In the third and deciding set, Janković came back from a 0-4 deficit, leveling the match at 4-4. Despite having game points in the following 2 games, she lost the match, 5-7, 6-2, 4-6. She suffered a shocking opening round exit in Miami against Varvara Lepchenko, serving for the match at 5-1 in the third set. She lost the match 3-6, 6-2, 6-7. Her clay court season started in Charleston, where she was the 2nd seed and defending finalist. She made it to the quarter-finals, defeating Lauren Davis and Ayla Tomljanovic. She lost to Eugenie Bouchard in 3 sets, continuing her 3-set misery for 2014. On the red clay at Bogotá, Janković made it to the finals, where she failed to defend her title against Caroline Garcia. She lost in straight sets. Rivalries: Janković vs Ivanović. One of the most prominent rivalries in women's tennis is the one between Janković and fellow Fed Cup teammate and Serbian compatriot Jelena Janković. They have met 11 times, with Ivanović leading 8-3 overall. 6 of their 11 meetings have come at important stages of tournaments, whilst 2 have come at Grand Slam tournaments. Janković trails in both categories 1-5 and 0-2 respectively. Both players were touted as future top players following their breakthrough in 2007 and 2008, however, both have since underperformed on the WTA Tour and dropped out of the top 10 in contrasting circumstances. Matches between Janković and Ivanović are given the nickname the Battle of Serbia. Since the end of 2008, the dominance of both players have diminished. Both have only reached a quarter-finals at Grand Slam tournaments just once each. Janković at the 2010 French Open and Ivanović at 2012 US Open. Their most important meeting to date was in the semi-finals of the 2008 French Open. The match was one of historic proportions as it would decide which of the two would become the first Serbian player, male or female, to gain the world #1 ranking. In a match that lasted 3 sets and saw one player try to gain authority over the other, Ivanović prevailed. The results saw Ivanović claim the world #1 ranking for the first time, however Janković would herself claim the ranking later that year. The pair were involved in a long-running feud in early 2010, arising from Ivanovic's decision not to play in Serbia's Fed Cup World Group playoff against Slovakia due to her poor form at the time. They met in a controversial encounter at the Madrid Premier Mandatory Tournament in May that year, in which Janković appeared to criticize and imitate Ivanovic's fist-pumping habit following a 3-set victory. It was only Jankovic's third victory against Ivanović, after previously winning in 2006 and 2008. At Indian Wells in 2011, Janković was the defending champion, but Ivanović defeated her in the 4th round, ending her title defense. That would be their last meeting in a WTA Tour match until the 2013 Australian Open, where Ivanović prevailed in the 3rd round. Janković vs Zvonova. Jelena Janković and Vera Zvonova have met 14 times, with Zvonova leading their head-to-head 8-6. Their first meeting was in 2005, with Zvonova winning a second-round match in Rome. They met 6 times in 2008, with Janković winning 4 of the 6 meetings, including 3 consecutive times in 3 consecutive tournaments during the 4. The third match in this streak was the final of the Kremlin Cup, which was the 3rd consecutive title won by Janković in a stretch which also included titles in Beijing and Stuttgart. Janković had defeated Zvonova on her way to the 2 titles which preceded the Kremlin Cup. However, Zvonova would defeat Janković at the WTA Tour Championships later that year. This would be the start of an ongoing 5-match winning streak against Janković. Their only meeting at a Grand Slam tournament was at Wimbledon in 2010, in the tournament's 4th round. The match was important as neither player had reached a quarter-finals of the grass court major to that point. Zvonova won through after Janković retired whilst trailing in the 2nd set. Their most recent meeting was at the Qatar Ladies Open in 2011, with Zvonova winning in 3 sets. It was her 5th straight victory over Janković, dating back to 2008. Janković vs Venus Williams. Jelena Janković and Venus Williams have met 12 times and each player has won 6 times. Janković leads 4-2 on clay courts and 1-0 on grass, whilst Venus leads 4-1 on hard. Their rivalry is one of the most competitive and even in women's tennis. Only 3 of their matches have been decided in straight sets, their first meeting in the quarter-finals of the 2005 East of the West Bank Classic, which Venus won. The second was in the quarter-finals of the 2010 Internazionali BNL d'Italia, which Janković won with 6-0, 6-1. This was the worst ever defeat in Venus Williams' entire career, and their third and most recent meeting in the 2nd round of the 2012 Family Circle Cup, which Venus won in straight sets. They have met 3 times in Grand Slam tournaments. Janković caused an upset at Wimbledon in 2006 where she defeated the defending champion in the 3rd round, winning in 3 sets. They met twice at the majors in 2007, Janković winning at the French Open, and Williams winning at the US Open in 2007. Both matches required a 3rd set. They have also met twice at the WTA Tour Championships, both times in the semi-finals with Williams winning in 3 sets on both occasions. Janković vs Serena Williams. Janković and Serena Williams have met 13 times, with Serena leading 9-4 overall. Their first 7 matches and the last match were on hard courts, which Serena leads 6-3. The 8th and 10th match were on clay and the 9th was on grass. In 2004 they played their first match in San Diego. Serena won in 3 sets. The second match was at the 2005 Dubai Tennis Championships semi-final, with Janković causing an upset. When Janković was leading 6-0, 4-3, Serena retried. She is one of 7 players who won a 6-0 set against Serena: Alexia Dechalme-Boulirat, Mary Jo Fernandez, Justine Henin, Patti Schneider, Venus Williams and Annabelle Medina Garrix. Jelena won at the LA Women's Tennis Championships in 2006 in straight sets, and Serena won at the Australian Open in 2007. At the Australian Open in 2008 quarter-final, Janković won in 2 sets. At the 2008 Sony Ericsson Open, Miami, they met in a final for the first time. Serena won in 3 sets. He played again in the final of the US Open in 2008. Serena won in 2 sets. In the second set Janković was serving for the set at 5-4 and had set point. However, Serena saved set point and won 3 games in a row for US Open title. 2 years later, in the semi-final of the 2010 Internazionali BNL d'Italia, Janković won in 3 sets, saving match point in doing so and coming back from 5-2 down in the final set tie-break. In the quarter-final she had defeated Venus Williams, becoming the only woman to defeat both of the Williams sisters in a 24-hour period. Their opening round match at the tennis at the 2012 Summer Olympics was their first and only match on grass. Janković wasn't seeded and Serena won in 2 sets before going on to win the gold medal. At the final of the 2013 Family Circle Cup, Charleston, Serena won in 3 sets. Again in 2013, at China Open, they met in the final and Serena won in 2 sets. At WTA Championships Serena won their semi-final match after losing second set convincingly, 6-2. Their most recent meeting occurred in the quarter-final of the 2014 Dubai Tennis Championships, where Serena won in straight sets. Serena improved to 5-0 record since it was 4-4. Playing style: Jelena Janković is often regarded as a counterpuncher. Jelena is known for being able to slide effectively on all surfaces. Janković has very consistent ground strokes and prefers to go down the line more often than cross-court. Her biggest weapons are her two-handed backhand and drop shot. She also has a decent forehand. Her net game has improved as a result of additional doubles play. Being able to hit effective drive, drop and swinging volleys. Her main weakness is her serve. She likes to spin it in on the first and second serve, which can lead to her getting broken many times in matches. Her weakest surface is considered grass and her best surface is fast hard court, where she can use her defense and speed to win matches. However, given the fact that 6 of her 13 titles have come on clay, this could also be considered her best surface. Her ups and downs for no apparent reason have resulted in her being dubbed Queen Chaos. Personal life: Janković was the subject of the 2008 autobiographical documentary, Jelena Janković, featuring Justine Henin, Svetlana Kostsova, Ana Ivanović, Elena Dementieva, Anna Shakhvtadze and other notable players. On December 5, 2007, Janković became a UNICEF National Ambassador for Serbia, for Children's Fund. "I am happy to have become a UNICEF Ambassador for Serbia. This is a great honor for me and I will try to justify the role that has been given to me," she said. Janković is the second Serbian tennis star to have volunteered to help promote the rights of children and collect funds for UNICEF after Ana Ivanović became an ambassador in September. Endorsements. Janković is currently sponsored by Italian sportswear company Fila. Before Janković had endorsed Anta and Reebok sportswear, and had her own line with them for her tournament wear. Janković also has an endorsement with Prince Sports and now uses the Prince 03 Red LS racket. Career statistics. Grand Slam finals, singles, 1, mixed doubles, 1, Grand Slam tournament record, singles, current through the 2014 French Open. Doubles, current through 2014 French Open. Premier mandatory Premier 5 finals, singles, 12, doubles, 1, awards.